I have some people here today that 2 of them have businesses related to independent film, and 2 are actually filmmakers. And I thought it'd be good to have some practical experience that you could relate to. So the first person that I'd like to introduce is Geoff. And Geoff has a company called Spork Productions. He's a great example of someone who wants to have a directing career, decided that a good way to get that directing career was to make a low-budget independent film. So I'm going to let him tell you about that.
Yeah, so like Linda said, for years I've been working, making short films, music videos. I was fortunate enough to get into doing some commercial stuff and everything. Obviously my love and my goal was to make feature films, and so kind of just saved up as much money as I possibly could. I was very fortunate to have a handful of incredibly talented friends that I was able to lean on for certain things. I'm a buddy that since childhood is an amazing, honestly one of the best cinematographers in the industry right now. So him and a couple other people, and just kind of wrangled them all together with this script that I had. We went out and made this film. It was like a 4.5-week shoot. Using some people, friends, then we shot in the coastal mountains of Oregon, so pulled a lot of local talent from the Portland area and stuff like that. And then the post-production process was long and tedious because I did it all myself. And from the editing, the sound design, all that sort of stuff. And then, festivals, we were fortunate. We got into some good ones, got some accolades, a couple of awards, but honestly, I didn't know anything about the distribution side of things, and I was sitting there, I'm like, okay, I have a film that's gotten a couple nice awards, but it's a really depressing film. It's got nobody famous in it, no action set pieces, no wild and crazy sex scenes, anything like that.
Car chases?
No. There's some lonely shots of driving down the road. So it's like, this thing is just box office poison. No distributor's gonna want to touch this with a 10-foot pole. When Lyndon had actually, after one of the festivals we got into, she reached out, and I was shocked, and I had my producer on it around that time got into the whole Sundance circle, and so she got me like a distribution agent that she got at Sundance, all sort of stuff, and she was able to get me in touch with a lot of, and all of a sudden, I had a bunch of distributors interested in this thing, which I just assumed I was going to throw it on YouTube, and now I'm talking to legit distribution companies, and and I'm a bit of a pessimist, so every single one of them was talking to me, they're talking about oh, this film's going to do this, we're going to put it there, we're going to do this, and I just felt like a lot of them were kind of just blowing smoke up my ass, just trying to get the film, and then they, I'd heard so many horror stories of people whose films just got picked up and then collected dust for the next 5-10 years of its contract. And the thing that drew me to Linda was just this, since she was positive about the film, she liked it, but she also was very realistic about its potential. The beauty of it is seeing this film get out into the world, and the audience that's been able to get the opportunities that she's been able to, both her and Michael have been able to do for this film, where, I never thought my film would be on DVD for sale at Best Buy and Barnes & Noble and stuff like that, or that it would be on Blu-ray, or that it'd be on a 4K streaming platform, or any of these sorts of things, or theatrical release at Christian's theater chain. And one of the biggest motivators is knowing that there are people out there that do want real quality films.
Great. What's the name of it?
It's called FRAY, F-R-A-Y.
Our next guest is Christian Meoli, and Christian owns and operates a very beautiful independent theater in Los Angeles called Cinelounge. We've actually had about 30 limited theatrical releases there. He has the reputation from LA Weekly of being one of the finest venues in LA for independent film. I'd like to let him talk a little bit about why it's important, if you can set aside a small enough budget, a limited theatrical release, why it's worth it.
Yeah, thank you so much, Linda. Thank you so much, Downtown Film Festival. We're grateful to be here. Looks like it's really going off spectacularly this year. Ted Hope on Facebook, he he just did a post, and he said he was looking for suggestions for a producer syllabus on independent film yesterday, right? And so I chimed in and I said, here's one for you. Theatrical exhibition is your connector. Theatrical exhibition is your connector. Because it's still how people want to see stories. You're storytellers. And this is how the story can be told. I have screens in LA. I have 5 screens. Today we're doing things in multiple places. It's wonderful. I'm still growing as an independent movie theater owner, presenting stories that all of you are creating. And I think we need to recognize that there are certain independent films that simply won't work in this type of theater. You understand? And this has been a model of exhibition for, we're talking decades, we're talking half a century, okay? And to place a wonderful independent film like FRAY in a venue where it has to sell a certain amount of popcorn, you have to fill what they need to survive. These are huge nuts that these theaters have. I mean, this is a 14-plex. I can't imagine. You know, I have singles, and I'm like, wow. You know, so I am saying to you that I believe that there are certain independent films that can't fit this model anymore, and that boutique cinema is the way to go, and is the future for independent film. And that's what I'm investing in. And I'm also investing in figuring out how audiences can find these great stories that you're creating. You understand? And I think all of us are. I think that's a major topic that's meant for today. You know, and we all have our part. We all have our part and our duty for audiences to find our films. And it's a wild, wild west scenario. And a lot of people are like, well, what should I do? Well, I can share with you as an exhibitor that this is still one of the best ways for your film to stand out, to be highlighted. And I think what I just said is important, because standing out and highlight is very important. I own a theater. I go on Netflix, I go on Amazon, and I zone out. I don't know what to watch. There's something in the functionality digitally that I need help. Now, it might be just me, demographic, who I am, but you know what? I need to find, where are the good movies? You know what I mean? I grew up with Siskel and Ebert. Where's that right now? Tomato meter? I don't even, that's not me. I need an identity. What's Rotten, who's Rotten Tomatoes? I need identity, which is another part of what we're talking about from an independent movie theater perspective. Because for me, Arena Cinelounge, I am the identity, as is my team. I'm bringing together a team who have worked at BuzzFeed, who are doing short-form digital content for Jash, who are Vidiots or running Nashville Film Festival. That's the team that I want around me, because we have to be promotional drivers for the stories that we're presenting, and that's our responsibility, you know. And I grow each year, and it's a pleasure to continue to do this. An independent film can survive. It can survive if we're thinking ahead and we're thinking about these particular dynamics.
Now, Prophet Bradley comes from Detroit and has recently moved to LA. And he is probably our very best example of someone who has been so persistent in his filmmaking, starting small, making docs in Detroit about crime. And he's going to tell you his story.
All right, so let's talk economics. Making movies is expensive, and I'm sure all of us had dreams when we were 12. We would mail a script in to Warner Brothers, and they would say it's great and make our movie. But obviously that doesn't happen. So in 2010, I'm sitting in Detroit in my room, and I have these documentaries out that everyone in Detroit has seen. There's hundreds of thousands of copies, but 95% of them are bootlegged. So I'm not really making very much money. So I hear Linda on a podcast, and I contact Indie Rights, And at the time, the video on demand hadn't, I mean, people were watching Netflix for free and buying stuff here and there, but it hadn't really fully kicked in. So I was in this limbo land of DVDs were still sort of preeminent, but it was very difficult for me to monetize the DVDs because my demographic was just bootlegging. But, so in the last year or two, video on demand has really come into its own, especially Amazon, and average person is sitting at home, you know, you're flicking through the movies on Amazon, something's $2.99, $3.99, it's free on Amazon Prime, or you saw it at an independent theater and you didn't get a chance to see it because, as you know, independent theater, only, as little as it lives, it's only in New York, LA, you know, here and there, right? If you're in the proverbial Wichita, Kansases of the world, there is no independent film. But you have a real opportunity to take your movie, and you really need to think about precisely who your demographic is, but you can put it on these digital platforms, and you can connect. I mean, if you can connect with 200,000 people out of the 330 million U.S. residents that will pay $5 for your movie, well, you just made $1 million. And that wasn't true a couple years ago. If you look at the films that come into movie theaters, you know, they're all $100 million plus, or they're the passion project of a movie star. It's great to go to film festival and win, but you know, I was at a distribution conference a year or two ago, and there was a guy from Sundance on the panel who said, "Yeah, I don't know if film festivals are really that important anymore." He's from Sundance, right? Because all that happens at big film festivals are movies that are not independent movies. They're low-budget Hollywood movies, win. And, you know, and then everyone else just gets digital distribution. So, I mean, enter a film festival. If you're, you know, early filmmaker, it's fun to be in them, but I did all that. So I like to make stuff and put it out. And then also you need to think of yourself, you know, you may have a dream movie you want to make, but really think of yourself as a career filmmaker, because you will build up. So I have 6 documentaries. Some guys I know from Detroit who I just set up with indie rights, they have about 4 or 5 urban drama things, and they built up a fan base, and we're making kind of a lot of money. So you can too. But you need to sort of also think like the Hollywood films as you're setting out to finish up the movie you're doing or to make your next movie. You know, it's a product at the end of the day. I mean, it's art to a degree, but it's also commerce. You need to reverse engineer, like, who really is going to watch this movie? And as you make the movie, you know, think of your marketing campaign. And all a marketing campaign, I don't mean some trick. I just mean knowing he might be interested, but these two aren't. So I'm not going to bother to advertise to these two. But if I can let him know from the comfort of your home, you know, while knocking back your Jim Beam, you can click a button and watch my movie for free on Amazon Prime or $2.99. Because I'd watch more movies now than I ever have in my life. Because there's very few things that make me get up and get in the car and go watch it. But if I can be at home, and when I can find the time, I can put it on. So, like she said, this is the golden age of independent film, because a small person can realistically get their money back and make money and have a career. And no longer is it just, okay, I'm going to trick my rich uncle into giving me some money, and I'm going to tell him about Sundance. So one of my partners, I'll end with this anecdote. One of the documentaries I did, I partnered with the guy. So I do crime documentaries. His father had been the biggest drug dealer in Detroit in the 70s. So he sent his son to college. When I was in college, one of the people he made friends with was Ben Horowitz. I don't know if anyone's into the follows tech stuff, but there's a firm called Andreessen Horowitz, which is like the second largest venture capital firm, you know, $50 billion. So this guy I know is friends from college with this Ben Horowitz guy. So he goes out to meet with him. He's like, you know, maybe I'll put them $5 million up to make a movie about your dad's life. So he goes out there with some filmmaker. And so they give them the spiel. They're sitting in the $80 million home in Silicon Valley. And so he asks the girl, the filmmaker, okay, so, what's the business plan to get my money back? And she says, well, we're going to make a really good movie. We're going to enter it in Sundance and hope we win. So my friend, the partner, the guy, he said he watched Ben Horowitz look up at the ceiling like, what am I listening to? But now we're going to revisit some of these potential, couple of, we can take this story, maybe do a 6-part miniseries, get a couple $1 million. You can get a couple $1 million back off 6 episodes on Amazon in a couple of years. I mean, some of their films are on pace to do that. So that can really happen. So there's real money to be made now in video on demand. It's not going away. It's only going to expand. So you really have a chance to have a career in this and market yourself as a director, as a writer, and all your films work together. People go see Tom Cruise movies because they like some other Tom Cruise movie they saw, and the same should be of you and your production company, your writing, and your directing.
We want to make a living and sustain ourselves by our art and by our movie making, and Al and Geoff are doing that, and we see a lot of filmmakers now starting to do that. So the only thing that's necessary is to stay persistent and build a body of work. The filmmakers that Al was talking about, we had a couple of their films, 3 of their films with us for like 2 years, and they were making a little money, maybe $500 each a month, but that's not enough to live off of, right? Well, now they have a hit on Amazon and it's trending. And because that's there, underneath that film, if you like this film, you might like these films. There's all those other films and now they're trending. So it's about building that body of work, right? So there is a whole, rationale to building a body of work. Our next guest has 2 companies, and both are extremely valuable. A lot of people are so nervous about distribution. They know nothing about the business side of it. They're great filmmakers, and they get their movie finished, they've been in some festivals, and they're like, oh my God, now what? And they're really, really just have no idea where to go. Well, Glen has a company that works with filmmakers that just don't know what to do with distribution, and he has a great reputation. He's been in the business for a long time. And recently he started a sister company that helps with promotion. And he's going to talk to you about both those companies, but primarily about how important it is to promote your film and when you should start doing that.
Thanks, Linda. So, I started Circus Road Films, which is a U.S. producer rep company about 11 years ago, back when, DVD was prominent. You could get Walmart deals, you could get Redbox deals, and you could really sell a lot of different tiers for a movie. And things have shifted quite a bit. And so Circus Road still operates, trying to help filmmakers get distribution deals from companies like Magnolia Pictures. Sometimes we make some Netflix deals, and then also companies like Linda's who handle all the various rights, if not theatrical, maybe doing a theatrical partnership with Christian's company or doing something to try to help monetize the film. But along the way, though, it's just gotten harder and harder for the films that we rep to make money. And so we started a second company called Circus to help people with marketing and social media, because that certainly there's a lot of things you can do yourself as a filmmaker. Sometimes you don't want to do it. You want to make your movie and you want to move on to the next one, or you don't have a sense, maybe you don't have a Facebook page, maybe you haven't done anything at all, and we kind of come in for people who really haven't started the process of marketing their own films. And we're increasingly trying to get in early with people because it's really something that people, as I was suggesting, that you need to really start thinking about your audience and start thinking about who you want to market to when you make the film in the first place. You need to try to make a film, like he was saying, for some group that's big enough, but not too big. You don't want to make a movie for your grandmother and your teenage cousin. That just is not the world. There are no movies that are successful to cater to all audiences. You really need to try to figure out who your demographics are. If you've got a niche like crime, like horror, the more you can narrow down your niche for yourself as a filmmaker and for whatever particular project you're working on, the better. And my company, Media Circus, can help do that. We try to help filmmakers with their brand, with trying to put themselves out into the world as a brand, as a filmmaker, at the same time that they're making films, so that they're thinking about that from the beginning. We still, Circus Road still helps with film festivals. We still try to help get films into Sundance and South by and Tribeca, and on a certain level that still can work. It's just an odds thing, right? There's just only so many films that are going to get into South by Southwest without a name in their movie. There's only so many films are going to get into Sundance without a name in their movie. And so it's gotten harder and harder to do that part of the job. And I've produced a number of movies myself, so I feel the pain. I've been there a number of times, and for some reason I'm still out there trying to make movies, but it's getting harder and harder. So much so that I used to try to make true indie films where you raise equity and you make it maybe with nobody in it, or maybe someone with a little bit of a name. But now I've jumped up and I'm trying to make bigger movies because it's almost easier to try to get an actor involved that has value, that in the foreign markets you can pre-sell to foreign markets and do a $3 to $5 million film. Strangely, is easier than trying to get someone and more justifiable for someone to write a check, a check for part of it rather than for the whole budget. On a quarterly basis, the distribution world changes, and I think we've all felt that. Linda feels that daily, and both my companies try to help with that.
I believe that theatrical is a marketing platform for a digital release. Yeah. I am a proponent, evangelist for day and date films. It is the future. It's where everything is going. It's where the bigger studio films are going to be coming soon. So I want to make my name in that place. So if you choose to go festivals, it's really your choice. Everyone was talking here, and I wanted to say, you either believe it or not. If you're someone who goes, yeah, I believe in film festivals, then go for it. Personally, I don't give a, I'm okay.
I'll add something to that that's might be worth noting. We like to see people try to do some festivals. One, it shows an initiative for getting your film out there, right? And secondly, it does give you time to build up an audience so that then when you are done with the festivals and you do the theatrical release, you can draw on that audience to support your film. And the theatrical, I see that as the next step that you should take right after your festivals. And we really don't recommend doing more than 4 or 5. I mean, we have some people who have done 20, 30 festivals, but after the 4 or 5 of them, it's draining your energy and your time and your money, and then that's what you should be putting forth towards your theatrical release and your VOD release, because that's where there's a billion eyeballs that might be able to see your movie. Festivals, you might get a couple hundred people to see your movie. Even in the theater, not so much. But the theater is important not just for the screen. You're also getting a Rotten Tomato page, which is important. It can be, especially for foreign sales. You're also getting Fandango, and you're getting a review from the LA Times or another top critic. And that can go a long way for your career in your film. So I think you want to do both, and so that's my 2 cents.
If I speak a little bit.
Yeah.
So obviously, when I was talking, I was clueless going into this, and so I did the festival thing. And it was, for me, I felt like it was instrumental because having a film that had, again, nobody famous, it's not something that people would just surface level be interested in. Was fortunate enough to get a couple of, Best Film Awards, Grand Jury Prize, that sort of thing, which lent that credibility to my film so that somebody like Linda would actually, want to talk to me. And so that was instrumental, but honestly, like, the chance to have that limited theatrical run, I was one of those films that, like, opening night was lovely, and then it tapered off real fast, and by the end, there were more people doing the Q&A than there were in the audience. And so it wasn't a financial boom, but the LA Times review was, we got a half page in the LA Times, the photo was a phenomenal review.
What's the worth of that?
Yeah.
You literally got a half a
that.
page review in the LA Times.
Yeah, if I bought that ad, it'd be about $100,000.
Yeah,
so,
seriously.
And nobody believed it because it's an ad. So, it was huge, and that then opened it up, because I know due to some of the subject matter, stuff like that, not a lot of some of the platforms were giving you some issues about putting it up on there, and then once the LA Times review came out, like, okay, we'll take it. And so each of those steps was instrumental to helping it have the success it's had now. And one thing I forgot to speak to, but Al had touched on it and everything, but that niche market, again, when I made mine, I didn't even think of that, but it's a film about a returning combat veteran, and the veteran community, their loved ones, have been the biggest key to this film's success. Once they found out about it and they appreciated it, that's when it blew up for me. So, but each of those steps was really essential for my progress, coming from like nowhere to now people actually know I exist and care. It was essential for that, and each step helped with getting that level.
One thing that I thought might be worthwhile, Al, would you talk a few minutes about advertising?
So, social media advertising, which probably everybody here is vaguely familiar with its existence, but unless you're involved in a business that's been doing it, you don't really know the nuts and bolts of how it works. It's both simple and complex. There's infinite tutorials and explanations on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, showing you how to do it. But I would really encourage you to learn about YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram advertising, for example. Like, I always have different things running. So right now I have some 1 minute. You're limited on Instagram to 1 minute of video. I have some 1 minute versions of trailers of my films, and then I have the description, and then you have a watch here, and it takes it to the Amazon page. And the power of the social media marketing is that, so before doing films, I was sort of involved in music stuff in Detroit. Well, I also have an economics degree, so I kind of look at these things from a different perspective. Anyways, I was involved in some music stuff, helping people promote concerts, rap acts. 10 years ago, the only way you could market things, you had to go to the big radio station, or you're going to spend $10,000, or buy an ad in a magazine, or buy an ad in LA Times. Well, guess what? A lot of ads are duds. But if you already cut the check, you don't get your money back. In social media advertising, you could say, okay, I think my demographic might be, people that live in Montana and people that own, Camaros. But you don't really know. So you make 2 ads, one for the people in Montana, one for the people who own Camaros. You put a couple $100, nothing on each one, and you realize, okay, no one responded to the Camaro ad, but my Montana ad went viral. I'm going to put all my marketing dollars into that. So, and Facebook owns, and Google owns YouTube, so much data about all of our behavior online that you can, really, you can say, I want to show this ad to people who are 18 to 25-year-old females who live either in New York or Philadelphia and, watch Vin Diesel movies. And that's the only people you advertise to. But that's who we as independents need to be advertising to. The only movies that everyone in America might theoretically watch are the kind of movies that, you know, have $200 million worth of explosions and you're walking around the mall on Saturday with your kids and, oh, take them in there. I mean, they're not movies that anybody really loves, but they're kind of okay, it's something to do, and there's like this huge marketing budget, and you go in there and sit and watch stuff blow up. But with social media marketing, you know, you can, as we live in a big country, 330 million people. I mean, even if your demographic is tiny, you know, transvestites, I mean, there's 500,000 of them, and some of them have money. And everyone in America has, well, no, but even poor people in America have $3 or have an Amazon or account. I mean, so if you can just get a little sliver of America to want your movie, which, I mean, I'm not gonna make something totally horrible. There should be some sliver of a sliver. And social media allows you to find and connect with those people and, you know, interact with them. So people comment on my stuff or say, hey, you know, Al, I watched your documentary, it was so great, blah, blah, blah. And by just me responding back to them, hey, I'm glad you like it, check out this or that, to that person who's not one of us who's making movies, they're just a person with a job, and they sent a message to a filmmaker, and they got a direct response back, that's kind of a big deal. So they're likely to, over dinner with someone or at work, say, hey, you should watch X, Y, and Z. And think about our own behavior. If you see an ad for some movie, it kind of comes and goes. If your brother-in-law at Thanksgiving sitting next to you says, oh man, I saw this movie I know you'd like, there's a high chance that you're going to watch that. So social media is your best friend. You know, don't be afraid to, you got to spend a little bit of money. But if you understand, and this is part of you soul searching about your movie, don't be delusional about your movie. Who likes it? Who's it for? Connect with them, and you know the pieces of the puzzle can come together because they have been for not just me but other indie rights filmmakers for sure.
Glen, I also wanted to ask you a little bit of a question. Can you give us an idea about like the level of film that might work? Media Circus, you know, I mean, is there a minimum budget or a recommended budget? Just talk a little bit about how you work with filmmakers and what they might do.
Well, we do all sorts of things because we also work with distributors too, where we do social media marketing. Basically, it's you know, if you have not developed your own community around your brand or your film, then we can come in and work on a monthly basis to ramp it up, to develop followers. Always working hand in hand with the filmmaker though, because it's a little inauthentic to just completely take over social media for somebody. You have to get them engaged and be involved in it as well. But it's at all different levels, and we you know, we're starting with films when they're in their infancy. They've just got a project, they just raised the money, they put aside some of the budget towards growing their social media as they make the movie. But then we're also coming in sometimes after the fact, and sometimes people only have, you know, a few dollars scraped together to do something. You know, if they've only got a couple of dollars, maybe I'm not recommending they, you know, hire us to do social media. There may be something better to do with their money if they've only got a couple of bucks. But it's all different, you know, there's so many things you need to do as a filmmaker to make it work, and from, you know, trailer to marketing to your poster to finding an audience to writing a great screenplay to having a cohesive set to not going over budget. There's so many things that can go wrong. We're definitely here to.
I mean, artwork and posters is just so important.
It's very important, and it really starts at the beginning, understanding, you know, what kind of film you're making, who you're trying to get to, you know, because these days you don't. Most importantly, you need an image or a poster that, if it's, you know, this big, will make someone interested in it. You know,
needs to be a face of one thing. People are looking at on their TV, they're looking at iTunes, Amazon, Google Play, and they're seeing a square, and it needs to catch their attention.
Pop, that's for sure. I was telling Charlie earlier, I had a filmmaker who had this beautiful kind of 1970s-ish poster for his avant-garde horror film. And it just, you know, it had lights and a girl, and it was kind of mystic looking, and maybe something that Kubrick might do back in the day. And his distributors said, no, we're not doing that. We're going to have a girl crawling towards the screen with a knife and big tits and blood. And the filmmaker was horrified, and I had to tell him, he didn't, you know, with the particular distributor he had to deal with, he had no right to change it. But it was a bigger company, and I said, look, they're trying to move units of your movie. They're not trying to satisfy your cineast friends. And your film
because
class.
he can always print up a secondary.
He can always do his own things. There's so many things he can do. And the long and the short of it is the movie did incredibly well, and the guy has a career and went on to make other films, and was thankful at the end of the day that he'd gone with the overt poster. But yeah, you kind of have to wear two hats a little bit. I mean, not every, look, you also shouldn't sell a pig in a poke. Right, like if you've made a nice comedy, you can't have, you know, certain things in your poster that don't match what it is. So you have to. It's more delicate than that, but it's, you know, supremely important. We do that too. We help people with posters and trailers, things like that as well. So
Can I jump in here?
Yeah,
absolutely. I'm feeling it. So Glen represented my second feature, Come Together, and we were selling it trying to get it out to distributors, and nobody was buying it, and nobody at all. I'd done a poster that was kind of faces in boxes, remember? It was kind of like a sexualized videotape, because the story is about 7 individuals on the night of the LA riots, and they kind of, you know, over a 24 period, everyone kind of self-destructs, so it's kind of an arty film, but then nobody was picking it up, and we didn't know what to do, and then Glen suggested, you know, changing the cover to put the 2 girls. We had really 2 hot girls in the movie. We put them on there. We did a photo shoot with them in bikinis, and then a guitar, and then our potential distributor eventually put on a little dog in there. But we then put that poster out to the same distribution companies that said no 6 months earlier, and now they were saying yes. And so a poster can turn everything around, even if you don't even change one frame of film. And I want to thank Glen and Circus Road for providing that, because otherwise my film would not have distribution.
Think
not the only service we provide is putting tits on
think about what most Hollywood movie posters are. Yeah. They're a close-up of the movie star, and it just says Tom Cruise in. You know, Angelina Jolie in, and they don't really even, they're not creative at all. It's just, Angelina Jolie movie.
They have stars.
That's it. So we don't have that luxury. Right. Yeah. So you really need, because think about your own buying and consumptive habits. You know, if you're in a store or you're scrolling through the TV, you don't care that much. It's just something to do. I mean, maybe you come across some great work of art, but realistically, something's got, what's that? That's somebody who reminds me of me or my life, or that scares me, or that makes me laugh, the cover. I'll check it out.